Hi, everyone. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristen Santori. I am the Programming and Communications Manager here at the church. I am very excited for this program. I don't know about you guys, but I love the weather, so I'm really excited to learn about the weather. And it is my great honor to welcome our collaborating partners who helped make this possible, beyond help, actually just truly made this possible for us. So we're very excited to have you guys here also, so thank you guys for being here. And Mr. Frank Quevedo, the Executive Director of the South Fork Natural History Museum. It's a mouthful, but I got it. Here you go.
Thank you. All right, I have to confess this is the first time I stepped foot in the church, and I've been living in Sag Harbor for 12 years. So please don't think anything bad about me. I'm very busy. I'm very busy at the museum. I can't get out of the museum. Just kidding. Anyway, this is a wonderful collaboration. It's great to see some new faces here, which I haven't seen in a while. Some of you I've known for many years. And just from a show of hands, how many have been to the South Fork Natural History Museum? Bridgehampton, Sag Harbor. That's great. So there's a few people. So we're celebrating our 36th year as a nature education organization. It's incredible. I've been the director there for 15 years now. It's amazing how time flies when you're having fun. We've accomplished so much over time, and I can't tell you how appreciative and how wonderful it is to have Mayor Dianora, our Young Environmental Society director, for putting all this together and collaborating with the church and Island Weather. I know Don and I have a similar connection. His nephew, Kyle, did a Eagle Scout project with the South Fork Natural History Museum. They supported us with our shark research program. So the Johnson family is a wonderful addition and asset to our museum. Kyle's a great kid. So anyway, thank you for being here. And now I want to introduce you and have Mayor say a few words. So thank you, everyone.
Hello, I'm Mayor Dianora, and I am the director of the Young Environmentalist program at the South Fork Natural History Museum. Frank is my boss. Raise your hand if you are a young environmentalist, if you're in my program. So I have a whole group of kids here who are part of the group, and these kids are amazing. They're so energetic and inspiring, and they ask me to do things, and I try my best to make it happen. So this is our technically second program with the church. We've done printmaking with Sam. We did nature printmaking on that very press there, which was so fun. But this is our first public program collaboration with the church. So it's such an honor to be here. And I'd like to thank you all for coming, and Kristen and Eric and April and the entire cast and crew at the church. And these guys who I literally begged for not 1 but 2 years to come do a program for us. I am very, very persistent. Am I not?
There are a few emails. Yes.
So it took me 2 years to get them to the first program. And then once we had established connection, they're like, yeah, we can come back. So thank you for joining us. Same place, different place. So it's such an honor. So I'm going to, you guys have my
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So with that, on to the show. So how many people here, show of hands, just want to know what the weather's going to be like for the next week? Anybody? All right, let's just skip through, straight through the very end. That's it. So I am Don Golde. To my right, your left, is Glen Johnson. And we are two parts. Thank you. We are co-founders of Islandwide Weather. What is Islandwide Weather? We are a social media-based page, Facebook. We started off on Facebook. Now we've branched out to other social media platforms, and we just forecast the weather. I mean, it's nothing special about it, but we're not trained meteorologists. I know it might come as a shock to some of you who may have followed, and show of hands, who actually follows us on Facebook. All right, so a few. So for those of you who don't know us, yes, we put out a daily forecast. We put out a 5-day forecast. We're essentially News 12 from our bedrooms. That's it. just without the news, right? We just recently brought on meteorologist Jeff Banson, who's from News 12, who's also Providence, the city, because we're trying to expand what we're doing. So Mayor reached out to us a couple of years ago. She's right about that. And we've been trying to get here, out here ever since. We're dads. We've got young kids. We've got full-time jobs. We're kind of busy at times. Plus, the weather keeps us busy too. So thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to get right into it. And this is a very educational program. So we will ask you questions. We will quiz you. There will be a test. You're not allowed to leave until you pass, okay?
Yeah, so by the end, everything should start to make sense as we wrap things up. So it's kind of like a class in a sense, and you're going to wonder, well, why are we learning this? But once we start showing you the computer models at the end, which is what people really want to see, you can read the computer models with us. If we just went right to the computer models, you wouldn't understand them. So we're going to kind of teach you, and then we'll get to the fun stuff a little more towards the end. Well, it's all fun, but yeah. We might crack a few jokes here or there too, so just be ready.
Usually,
but PG rated, so.
And usually at my expense, but that's okay.
Yes, usually, right.
So, first things first, where does weather happen? So to answer that question, you have to know the layers of the atmosphere. So everybody take a deep breath in. You're breathing in the troposphere, okay? From about 7 or 8 miles up, down to the ground, is the troposphere. And that is a very fluid number. 7 could be up to 13, could be as low as 5. But the troposphere is where most of our weather happens. When we are forecasting the weather, we're actually looking at this layer up here, the next highest layer, which is called the stratosphere. What happens up top needs to translate what's happening on the ground. If it does not, more than likely the forecast that you see on your weather forecast is not going to happen. So there's a constant looking up to see what's going on up here, to see what's going to translate down at the ground. And then as you get higher and higher into the atmosphere, all the way into the outer reaches of space, there's less and less of an influence as to what happens up there to what happens on the ground, with the exception of, anybody have a guess? Yes, solar flares. So that will also influence our weather just a wee bit. Next. So that is essentially a picture. None of us took this, but that's the troposphere. You're looking down from a flight high up. Just above these cloud tops up here is the stratosphere, okay? There are sometimes thunderstorms, especially out in the Midwest and the plain states, that the tops of those cumulonimbus clouds, or the thunderheads, gets well into the stratosphere, okay? Another key component of the stratosphere is that it's a heavy influence as to what happens during the winter time. Show of hands, who knows what the term polar vortex is? Okay? That's actually just a warming of the stratosphere, and that cold air has to dump somewhere. So it dumps down into the troposphere, and that's why we get those massive outbreaks of cold weather that we had. This past winter, we had 10 of those events, 10 recorded stratospheric warming events or polar vortex.
Let's keep an eye out for the stand there, buddy. Don't want you to trip over it like that.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah. I did it 3 times already.
Yeah.
All right, so I want you to think of, for the rest of the evening, think of the lava lamp. Now, I was born in '77, so I kind of know what that is. Some of you don't know what that is. That's fine. But some of us know exactly what that is, and that's almost a good translation as to what's actually happening in the atmosphere right now. You have density, buoyancy, you've got heating of air that rises, cooling of air that condenses and falls, and this continued phenomenon happens all throughout the atmosphere, but it kind of circulates around the globe. Obviously, we have the spinning of the Earth, but it goes into various different layers. North of the equator, you've got the subtropical jet stream. That is essentially what gave us that heat wave last week, right? Another thing that happened is that the polar jet stream actually dipped down on the western half of the United States. So it allowed, this displacement allowed the warm air to rise up the eastern seaboard while cool air came down the western coast.
It was snowing out west.
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware of that. When we had the heat wave here recently, it was snowing out west. So, yeah.
There was people on TikTok going, happy first day of summer, and it was snowing. So that'll tell you the dynamics that are still happening. And the same thing happens on the southern equator, but polar vortexes don't happen as often on the southern equator as they do in the northern hemisphere. I'm sorry, southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. But right now, there's actually one happening right now. And the reason why there's not that many is because water surrounds the South Pole. Okay? You've got the oceans all the way down here. In the northern hemisphere, you've got the mountains going all the way up into parts of Canada and Alaska. And on the other side of the globe, you've also got mountains up in parts of Russia. So that friction of the air also helps to influence that.
And right now, on the left picture over there, Don, I know you didn't touch on it yet, but there are different zones that he's talking about with the polar jet stream, subtropical jet stream. We're kind of in a temperate climate, right? We're never really always hot or always cold, right? That's one of the beauties about living in the Northeast is we do get all the seasons. We have the snowbirds, right, who can't deal with the cold anymore, and they'll go down to Florida and they come back up now, right? Then you have other people who like the change in seasons. They like October and Halloween and the fall and wintertime and the snow. But that's our zone, basically, is in that temperate zone.
So before we switch, see where that L is right there? That's essentially where we are, right? We live in one of the most volatile areas on the planet for weather. We have influences from as far south as the equator, as far north as the North Pole. There's a new map that IBM, I think, came out with a few years ago, and it tracks when super cold air comes south into our area. And a lot of times it starts in Siberia, comes across the pole and on down. We have temperatures that will hit 100, as we just saw. But in the same area 6 months later, it's 0. We have blizzards. We have hurricanes, earthquakes, okay, tornadoes, drought. We have rainfall of 17 inches in one thunderstorm, which we had, 2015? Yeah. We are one of the most volatile areas on the planet. We have the influence of the Gulf Stream simultaneous as we have influence from the North Pole. That's why we get 2 and 3 feet of snow in one clip.
We don't have alligators, though, so it's good. No alligators. Yeah.
Actually, no. I think there was one in Central Park.
Was it? Oh,
another
yeah,
one.
That's right.
Another one. I think it was a pet, though. So it's interesting here. We have microclimates from here on east. Do you see the temperatures that we see out in Nassau? No. Okay? But I have seen 8 inches of snow here and nothing in Nassau. Okay? We've also got zones, North Shore versus South Shore, out by where we are. There's a snow belt because there's an elevation change, just enough to squeeze out just a little bit more precipitation. So where you live is actually one of the most volatile places on the planet. So take a bow. You all live here. You survive it. And there you are. This is the Gulf Stream. In the wintertime, it comes way out here. But now it's starting to get further and further north and into the east. So our temperatures, mid to upper 60s for the Atlantic Ocean right now. Warmer in the South Bays, the shallows. The Long Island Sound's a little cooler. It takes a little longer for that to warm up. But the warm water is super close. So any major storm that comes up the coast, it has plenty of energy to tap into. And that is the driver for the rest of our summertime. If something does form and come up the coast, and we'll talk about the tropics here in a little bit, this is the energy that it needs. In the wintertime, the reverse, okay? It still needs the same warm water, but it doesn't get bogged down by colder air or colder water.
Yeah, and our oceans here, I mean, usually in an average summer, by September, which is when our oceans are the warmest, it only gets to about 72 degrees or so, 73 degrees. Anything warmer than that would be pretty unusual. So we were well under, I think we were about 65 last week. We've jumped up 3 degrees all of a sudden. So we're getting closer to where we should be at this time of the year, which is about 69 degrees. So
now we get to talk about something that takes a while to happen here. And there's an interesting dynamic that happens with that, and that is thunderstorms out here on Long Island. Usually, you see them in the spring, but they kind of die out. And here's one of the phenomenons why. We've seen it in the South Shore is the marine layer. Looks like a very heavy, thick fog moving ashore. We've all seen it in the spring and in the fall as well. You get a warm land mass, a cooler, damp ocean air mass, and once the temperatures drop during the day, you now create this vacuum, this area of low pressure over land. This marine layer moves ashore. And if you've ever been caught out in it, it's been a nice, bright, sunny day, and all of a sudden you're wearing a hoodie, whereas before you were wearing shorts. This is a unique phenomenon. It doesn't happen just here, but it's unique to the East Coast.
All right, so how many of you have actually, since, let's say, April, have actually heard a really big thunderstorm here in this area? How many so far do you think? 2, 1, 3? Yeah, by us, because we're in the Center Reach, Selden area, and we've had, 10 maybe or so, okay? But why do they die? Okay, it's hard for them to make it out here, especially in the springtime. That's what Don was just talking about with the marine layer. Okay, thunderstorms need 3 things, essentially. Moisture, right? When it's a really humid day out, and then it rains, what do you guys say? Oh, the thunderstorm, it broke the humidity, right? For at least a little bit until the sun comes back out, right? Instability in the air, and lift. Okay, Don used to use the vacuum mentality, or a vacuum analogy. Think about how a vacuum works, right? You push it, nothing's happening behind it, except it's just sucking things up in front of it. That's kind of what these fronts do, okay? They're pulling up all the required energy it needs to form thunderstorms. And if you've all seen a weather radar before, that's what you're looking at here, right? All the reds, this is just a severe thunderstorm line. When did this happen? Back in 2024. So this is last July, okay? This died by the time it got to Riverhead and east, probably maybe a rumble of thunder or two, but tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings don't make it out here until a little bit later. Okay, once the ocean warms up and that marine layer dissipates, then the thunderstorms make it out here. You have to click the button now. Come on, man. I need you to click the button. Sorry. Oh, yeah, Vay. This guy, I'll tell you. Sorry. All right, so why do the storms live? This was back in November 15th. Okay, think about that, November 15th. What are you thinking about on November 15th? Thanksgiving. Maybe thinking about fall. Maybe thinking about snow. How many of you guys love snow? Wow, I am shocked. We're in good company, my friend. We're in good company. That's true. They're like, yeah, snow, what's that? We don't get snow out here. But anyway, so this incredible squall line came through. Brought gusts 50, 70 mile per hour gusts. There's a tornado warning in Brookhaven on east, okay? But by that point, okay, there's no marine layer really. Okay, the oceans are starting to cool, but the air wasn't that warm. You had a ton of lift, okay? And I mean, these warnings, this is out the South Hold. You guys are here, South Fork, right? So weather's crazy like that. I mean, when you're not expecting thunderstorms now in November. Does anybody remember this by chance, or it's like a couple of years ago, 5 years ago? Do you want? Yeah. Yep.
There's been times where I've been in my boat late October, 2-3 days prior to Halloween, and the water temperature is still in the 70s, right? So the energy that he's talking about gives these storms fuel. Stays here around our area well into the holiday season before it really starts to break. And what causes it to break is a repeatedly colder atmosphere aloft. And once that happens, then you start to see the more of the changes back to the fall and winter pattern. There's been even discussion, does summer hold on just a little bit longer into fall? And the answer is, yeah, it does.
Think about when Hurricane Sandy occurred. Right? End of October into November. Do you remember what happened a week after Hurricane Sandy? What happened? Do you remember? What did it do? It snowed. Right? But the water was still so warm up and down the coast, and especially up here, where Sandy, it was tapped in with other energy too. It's complicated, but it survived and it did well up here. So sometimes our hurricane threat, our biggest threat is September on, not really right now. Usually the south is more hurricane ready at this point.
Caribbean islands, Gulf Coast, Southeast Coast usually are the targets this time of year.
Right. All right. We'll see how well they do with this one.
Quiz time.
Okay. I do this every slideshow, every presentation, and some people know, some people don't. Everybody know who this is?
Yay!
Chris Farley. Okay, all right, there's a couple. Has anybody ever see this skit on SNL? Because he goes, El Nino is Spanish for the Nino, because El and the and whatever, but it gets a couple laughs. Some people are like, this guy's crazy. So, but
I still
anyway,
think that.
I'm never taking it down. I'm just not. So,
7 years and counting, folks. 7 years this slide has been on this presentation.
and one day someone's going to go, that's Chris Farley, and I'm going to take him out to dinner after.
Somebody
and it's gonna
over
be great.
here did say Chris
And
Farley.
I mean, like right away, once they see him up there. Not I have to ask, you know. So, all right, we're going to talk briefly about ENSO, meaning basically what the ocean surface temperatures are doing in the Pacific Ocean, talking about El Nino and La Nina being warm and cool phases of the tropical area in the Pacific. Anybody know what we're in right now? If we're in an El Nino or a La Nina? Take any guesses? All right, let's do this. I'm a teacher, so hands up for El Nino. Don't look around because you can be like, oh, no one's putting their hand up. I'm not putting it up. All right, how about, be confident. Yeah, it's okay. All right, how many
I
for
see eight people for
All
El
right,
Nino.
how many for La Nina? All right, who's abstaining?
Cheaters.
All right, next slide, sir. Well, the joke's on you because we are neither right now. So if you abstained, technically you're correct because we're in a neutral state. The past couple years we were in La Nina, basically meaning that the Pacific Ocean by the equator here is 2.5 degrees at the surface below average in temperature. All right, right now we're just about, again, neutral. You can kind of see there's some pockets here. Right, here's Mexico. Here's the northern part of Australia, Indonesia. So you can see those yellows being a little above average, the blues below, and it's just kind of mixed. When we were in a La Nina, this whole entire thing was just blue. Okay, and that drives our weather because whatever happens in this area of the world impacts what happens here. All right, and we're going to talk about that, especially with hurricane season for this year. So this was what May to June, basically. So this says 0.5. I don't know why. Maybe I'm thinking Fahrenheit, but anyway, El Nino greater than 0.5, La Nina less than 0.5. These are two graphics. This was 1988. This was 1977. This is a strong El Nino year. That was a strong La Nina year. And these areas, I know some of these graphs are tough to see, but this is showing you here on the right. I'll kind of read them off to you. All the way on the right here are the months. You were waiting to use that laser pointer, weren't you? Look how excited he is. He's like a little kid. Oh, my goodness. All right. So here's June at the end of each one, May, April, and so on. And each one of these boxes are different portions of the Pacific. So this is closer to Mexico. This is closer to Australia. So like Nino 1 and 2, which is the bottom one here, this is telling you right now, again, even though this says slightly above, it's pretty much neutral. But you can see before, we were below. Even this past winter, we were getting out of La Nina. So where are we headed? Well, if you know how to read a line graph, okay, here's the middle. Here's our average. Okay, these are all different computer models that put out strictly for El Nino and La Nina. And right now, most of them are sticking with basically a neutral state. Some are trying to go to La Nina. This one obviously had a couple of drinks last night. But the average basically is right down the middle. And this is through, this is January, February, March. So each line represents a 3-month average. So right now, the forecast is to stay neutral throughout the summer. And when we head to the fall and winter, we're going to see basically where we're going to go. But if I had to be a betting man, I would say probably La Nina again, just because that seems to be the pattern we're in right now. So, you want to take it over, sir?
Yes. Thank you. All right. So, what can we expect for the rest of this summer?
We're going to burn.
Yep. So let's go back because.
Wait, I want the pointer now. Give me.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
Wait, where's the laser?
What is an influence on our area? And how do we factor that into a forecast? So the reason why El Nino and La Nina are so important to discuss is because we call them the bully of the weather world. Things that influence the air mass around our area, or the lower 48 as a whole, are what's called teleconnections. In the meteorological world, they call them teles, right? So you've got the Arctic oscillation, okay? Then you've got the North Atlantic oscillation. Then you got the Pacific oscillation. Down here is the SOI, or the South Oscillation Index.
Southern
It's essentially
oscillation.
this body of body of air just off the Australian coastline. But the one that is the biggest major direct influence to our area is this. And why? Because what it does is it essentially negates or influences everything south of us in the tropical Caribbean air mass, which is what drives, to our previous slides, all that energy that those thunderstorms are used for fuel. And what is a hurricane? It's just a bunch of organized thunderstorms all talking together, right? They're all talking together. They're all having a good time. But that's essentially what's happening in the Caribbean. So depending upon what's happening here, we can now start to look at long range, what may influence our forecast for the summertime. So we know that it's not going to be warmer than average. It's not going to be cooler than average in the Pacific or the equatorial Pacific. So what's left? All these other little, keep going, all these other little teleconnections. So right now, for July through September, this is the latest from National NOAA, which is above average temperatures. So hazy, hot, and humid. And what I say that is look at the precipitation forecast. Okay? The humidity will be a problem. In fact, one of the longer range, it's called the CFS model, started noticing this way back in October. And it goes out 8, 9, 10 months. And it started noticing that there was this pocket right there of cooler than average and just stayed there. And in fact, it's still there. And that, I've learned, has more to do with where there's going to be instability and where there's going to be continued focus for wet weather. What ends up happening this time of year is that we'll get a nice little warm front or cold front to come through, an area of low pressure will spin off of it, and next thing you know, you got a nice little wicked storm coming off the coast. And this will rinse and repeat over and over and over again. So, your air conditioners will be working overtime this year.
Although you're lucky out here, it's always a little cooler, you know? Although you did get hot during that heat wave. You were in the 90s out here, right?
90s.
Montauk was like... I think,
97.
Yeah, right. At the,
Set a record.
The airport out there, yeah. I say out there. We're like out there now. I mean,
We are out there.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner,
Yes,
bro.
yeah,
We're
right,
here.
I know.
We're there, man.
Yeah, we're at the end. Yeah, yes.
So, tropical outlook, knowing what we've talked about to continually build upon this education you're getting. And so neutral conditions, which reduces wind shear. So one of the things that is not a fuel for a hurricane or a thunderstorm is when the wind's way up top. Remember the upper layers of the atmosphere? When they're really strong, that's called wind shear. Thunderstorms like to rise. And the more rise they get, the more energy they can pull down. Therefore, they become stronger. When you rip off the top, it's like a tree that can't grow anymore. It just dies away. Okay? There's higher activity in the Western African monsoon season right now, and that will continue to send waves across the United States, across the Atlantic Ocean. But it's also going to throw something else over, and we're going to get that because that's also going to be another influencer for our tropical season. The ocean is already warmer than average, right down by the equator, and that's going to continue, especially into the parts of the Caribbean. Fun fact, a few years ago, it was recorded for the first time ever off the Florida Keys that the temperature of the ocean water was 100 degrees 10 feet down. You want to know why our coral reefs are dying? Both Glen and I, well, Glen more than me, have had tropical fish tanks. We've grown coral in our tanks in our homes. What's the ideal temperature range for corals to grow?
78 usually to, depending on what type, but 78 to 80.
78 to 82 is roughly the range for most soft and stony corals. 100 degrees will kill anything. 10 feet down, and you can say goodbye to the wildlife. They go away. They like cooler waters. And that's the reason why go out to the aquarium. Go look at the lost and found fish section. I mean, the fish that have gotten their way up here and they kind of got lost, it's packed. There's more tropical fish in our waters now than ever before.
That was very dramatic the way you said that. I was very like, you know, you could write a book. You know?
That's a reel on YouTube. Mark that one. So what should we expect this year? Now, I always take these storms, these totals with a grain of salt. Named 14 for the 30-year average. Okay? 13 to 19 is what NOAA's calling for this year, with the potential of 6 to 10 turning into hurricanes. Now, on any given season, at least 30 to 40% right out to sea. So cut that number off. Major hurricanes, 3 to 5. Major hurricanes are Cat 3 and higher. Okay? The ones that produce the most damage. Glen and I, once we get old enough, and our kids have grown up and have left the house, we're going down the Caribbean, and we're going to chase a Cat 5.
I'll be right behind you, buddy. Yeah.
You're going to wave to me at the airport? Right?
Yeah. I'll meet you there.
So, what will influence this number? Okay? What will drive it higher or drive it lower?
Before we get to that, actually, this time last year, and I keep saying the past, 'cause it's important, history and weather, there was a storm that was fully developed this time last year. Does anybody remember what the name was and what category it reached? Anybody got any Jeopardy music?
Let me guess. Did it start with an A?
No, it did not.
Wow.
Anybody? Bueller? No? By the way, I make that joke with my middle school kids. They're like, who's Bueller? And I'm like, sorry, I forgot. You guys.
I got it.
Woo, way over
I got it. Hurricane Bueller.
No, it was not.
No.
No, that should be a name. All right, well, I'll let you guys look it up. You can be on your phones for a minute. I'll allow you. But as I recall, it reached Category 5 status, and it was the earliest Category 5 storm in the Atlantic this early in the season. So I believe it was Beryl. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was Beryl. But look it up.
Beryl.
Yeah.
Beryl.
And we thought that the season was going to be super active. They were predicting 25 named storms. But then something happened, which we're going to talk about in 2 slides.
It didn't just happen.
Well, right.
It's just people stumbled upon something that had always been there.
Right, yes. We kind of talked about this already, but...
Yes.
Well,
This
look
time
at
of
it.
year, this is where most storms will form. As the summer progresses, that area tends to come a little further north and less of the western parts into the Gulf.
All right, our influence. Oh, that's kind of hard to see from... can you turn off the lights for a minute?
Can you see this?
Well, they can see the satellite, but what
They
they
see
need
the
to be
satellite.
looking for, though. All right, that's a little better. Yeah.
All right, so I'll try to point it out for you. But this is a satellite view of the equatorial Atlantic. Here is your coast of Africa, South America, and the Caribbean. We all see what the blue is, right? We all know what the white is, but what is that? Anybody know? Show of hands. Yes.
Look at these educated people.
I knew we came to the right place.
Smart out here. And they like snow. We're coming back, Mayor.
We're coming back.
Yeah.
So the instability that's happening over the African continent is allowing for more of the Saharan dust to rise into the atmosphere. And people are like, oh, is that something new? No. It's something new that we're tracking, but this is a phenomenon that has happened for centuries, okay? But what does this dust do? Remember we talked about the upper layers of the atmosphere, right? The upper layers of the atmosphere also have to produce conditions to allow for the growth of those types of storms. And not only can you have wind shear as part of the upper layers of the atmosphere, but you can also have dry air. Another killer of hurricanes is dry air. it actually kills most storms is dry air. We see this quite often when we're trying to forecast snowfall in the wintertime, and all of a sudden there's dry air that wraps into the center of the storm. And all of a sudden we have nothing falling out of the sky, killing our snowfall forecast, right? Same thing here. This is a very dry air mass at about 10, 12, 14,000 feet up. That will kill anything happening.
And you can see where, where all the dust is, there's not much in the way of cloud cover. I mean, the thunderstorms are struggling. So any tropical wave that's coming off of Africa right now is going to die. Although, again, historically, this time of the year, we don't see formation off of the coast of Africa. Usually, it's more in the Caribbean and just by the like Cancun area. But if that continues all summer, it's really going to knock down any sort of prediction for hurricane season. And that happened last year. Everybody was hyping up the hurricane season, and it took, I felt like even through August.
Late August.
There wasn't much. We actually got it was pretty cool. We got an email through Fox 5 asking to interview us to talk about the hurricane season and why it was so weak at this point. And we talked about the Saharan dust. That was one of the biggest things and factors. And so far right now, in the early stages, it's impacting again.
I was not available for said interview. Just saying.
Yeah, sorry. Too bad. To the left there. Wait, hold on. Where's the? Wait. I got it.
There.
Okay. The National Hurricane Center actually has given this area of thunderstorm activity a 20% chance of development, which seems really low, but sometimes when you have really no shear right now and the waters are warm, the computer models aren't as accurate. And even though it says 20%, something could form here, or once it crosses over the peninsula into the Gulf, something can form. So when we look at the computer models here in a little bit, we'll see what the computer models do with this and see if it starts to form it or it actually winds up killing it. So,
fun fact about the computer models: the GFS, which is like it's like the fantasy football team of computer models, was putting out hurricane outcomes like a month ago. And everybody kept on pointing at the Saharan dust map and saying, it's not going to happen. And every single time, it would have a hurricane forming. There was even a Cat 4 that was going to park in Louisiana at like the end of May. Nothing came of it, but the GFS, these computer models are just not factoring in this right here. But it's something you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, and someone came up to you before about the government cutting funds and stuff, right? Yeah, so, things like that too, whatever your political belief is, we don't discuss that here. But, funds getting cut and that kind of stuff, it will impact. It's going to impact forecasting to a point, and that might be an issue, especially when we head into hurricane season. Hopefully it won't, but, it's always a little bit of a risk, so. All right. Oh, we got to get to the names. All right, who's got a name up there? Anybody?
I wouldn't admit it. I'm just saying, you don't want to be that guy or girl.
Any Dexters? No. Any Umbertos? No. Any Olgas? No. Wendy's?
Karen looks bad.
I'm surprised. No
Any
one?
Melissas?
Really?
Any Melissas? Nobody?
No Imeldas? Come on.
There's got to be an Olga.
No?
Every year this comes out, I go, is my name up there? Damn it.
Van, or is it Von?
You know what? Is it a van down by the river? Or
Down by the river.
A Von Go.
That's a Chris Farley reference, by the way, for those that don't know. Seriously, though, is it Van or is it Von? It's got to be Van, right? If we get to Van, that's a busy season.
6 years ago. Does anybody know what happens once they get past Wendy?
They go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be here all night. Thank you. Okay.
They start going into, I think it was like Roman numerals or something like that.
No, they go to Greek alphabet.
Yes, yeah.
Alpha, beta, zeta,
Delta.
delta, gamma, epsilon, upsilon.
Oops.
I don't know. That's a thing.
But
I used to know the whole alphabet.
6 years ago, there were, I think the last named storm was early December. So the potential's there for them to be wrong. all the time, but
Yeah.
they have been known to undershoot, especially as conditions change. And that year, that Saharan dust machine just kind of shut itself off. And so now it was just the Atlantic and the Caribbean were just a bathtub. Not much in the way of any shear, and it was just storm after storm after storm, just kept on forming. At one point in time, there were 3 hurricanes in a row in the eastern part of the Caribbean that were at least Cat 3 or higher. First time I'd ever seen it like that. The radar signatures were being shared, across the globe. Like, look at that. Like, people in the Caribbean, they were in harm's way.
Yes. Well, technically they are cyclones. If you think about the Pacific and also Western Pacific out towards Asia, they're considered cyclones. And we just call them hurricanes as like kind of the street name, I guess, if you want to. The scientific name is cyclones.
It's the gangster name.
Yeah. So think about like, what is it?
Willy Willies?
No.
No? Typhoons?
I had a thought, and it's gone. It's like when I walk into a room and I can't remember why I went in there.
That's called age, brother.
It'll come to me. But that's the reason, basically. So, yeah.
If you think about weather forecasting from 70, 80 years ago, a lot of these weather forecasting agencies across the globe really didn't talk to one another much. So a lot of those names were born just by local, and then became regional, and then now we know them to be global. Cyclones was kind of like the universal name to describe them.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, here we go.
Remember.
Here we go.
Heat lightning.
Oh, will you stop that?
Heat lightning. Who knows what heat lightning is?
It's not real.
Oh, wow. This is good. See, these are good. Okay. Only a couple of people know what heat lightning is. Really? Okay, interesting. Maybe I won't talk about it then. I don't want to confuse people.
I don't believe this. I choose not
Maybe
to
I
believe this.
I'm going to confuse them. I don't know. Should I talk about it?
It's lightning that doesn't make sound.
Okay. So when I was a kid, I remember being in my pool, and it was always nighttime because that's when you generally see lightning. And we wouldn't hear any thunder. It was very calm. But in the distance, you'd see flashes, and kind of like if there was a fireworks show in the distance, but you didn't hear the fireworks, but you saw it. I remember asking my dad, what is that? What is that? Oh, it's heat lightning. Okay, well, why? Well, it's so hot out. It forms lightning. Okay, Dad, you're going to listen to your dad, right? Or your mom. Sure, it's heat lightning. So, literally until probably a couple of years ago, heat lightning, there is no such thing as heat lightning. All it is, it's just storms that are so far away that you don't hear them, obviously, and you just put it in. So someone commented last night about heat lightning, and then I had to make a post that there is no such thing as heat lightning. And then this apparently disappointed a lot of people because their whole life they thought heat lightning was a real thing. And I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to tell you the scientific facts. Heat lightning is not a thing. So
I could see the storm. I could see it. It's not that far.
yeah, I know. Well, so there you go. You learned something about heat lightning, but you can call it heat lightning. Just know all it is it's just a storm that you can't hear. That's all. So anyway, I digress. Carry on.
All right, so time to participate. Everybody reach into your pockets, purses, whatever the case may be, and hold up your cell phones. Because you have a direct influence as to what we're going to talk about next. And you're not going to like it. Nope. So, these are the weather models that we're going to talk about. There's multiple different kinds of models. There are global models, there are long-range models, there are mid-range models, there are mesoscale models, and then there are hyper models. Some of them have catchy names you hear on TV, like the hyperlocal this and the weather tracker that, and they're all doing the same thing.
Hyperlocal 5000.
5007. But they all do the same thing. Okay?
Hold on, I'm going to go over there. There you go. Oh, no, wait, there you go. Okay,
There we go.
all right.
Okay. So GFS is obviously the one that is sponsored by your tax dollars. The European model is sponsored privately by a whole bunch of people, in Europe, right? Then you got the Canadian model. That is more public because of the Canadian government. And then you got the JMA, Japan Meteorological. We got to change that. Nobody uses the JMA.
Dude, it's right like once a year.
Once a year.
Yeah. And that one storm could be a hurricane.
That one storm. We go to multiple different websites, okay, that gather all the information and displays it. And anything, boys, listen up. You can go to that website. You can do this too. You can also go to pivotalweather.com. You can go to noaa.gov. Almost everything that we use is free. Everything's free. There's a couple of sites that we pay that provide some advanced graphics that we can share on our page. And from a licensing standpoint, we can do that and get away with it. But all of these weather forecast models are software. They're pieces of software run on massive computers, and they take in data from millions upon millions of weather forecasting gear, okay? You can have one outside your home. You can buy one on TikTok Shop for like $90. There's one attached to every single commercial flight that you've ever taken in your life. There are weather gauges that are capturing data. Up and down the west coast of the North America, there are tens of thousands of these. And all of that information is fed into these supercomputers to give you as close to an accurate forecast as we possibly can. But something happened right around the same time that we all had to get rid of our rabbit ears. Remember when TVs went digital, full digital? Okay. What happened? So there's a frequency that we all use today. Okay? It's a bandwidth. We commonly refer to it as 5G. That's why I made you bust out your phones, right? You paid extra for that 5G phone, right? But you know what you also did? You bought the same frequency that radar waves use or bounce off of rain droplets with.
So when the weather forecast is wrong, it's your fault.
Your fault. My fault too. But yeah, so that was a big controversy back then, is because a lot of weather forecasters were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what you're doing, right? You're literally handicapping our weather forecasting capabilities. And the European model, it famously forecasted Sandy and was the only one that forecasted Sandy accurately 7 days out. The GFS and all the rest were way out to sea. And the European was the only one that took that left-hand turn into Jersey, which is what it ended up doing. But after that is when the FCC came in and said, hey, we're taking this bandwidth and we're going to put it in for communications. We're going to take it away from everything else and all of the uses of that. And that essentially leveled the playing field. So now your GFS, our model, is just as good or bad as the European or anybody else.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good. No. How do we get better? Well, cutting funding doesn't do that, right? It doesn't. And we're not going to get too much into that, but somebody asked a question, brought up an article that just came out that says that the Department of Defense is going to kill funding for, not allowing weather forecasting for 3 Department of Defense satellites. How that's going to impact weather forecasting moving forward is yet to be seen, but there are microwave forecasting capabilities. Essentially, how to X-ray a storm, right? You can find out a lot about what's going on within the storm that you can't just from a satellite imagery or finding out barometric pressure or wind speeds. So that's just a little bit of the behind the scenes, more of the scientific stuff. Oh, that's nice. That's Glen's aquarium, by the way. Just saying.
Just give me a second.
What are you doing?
I'm pulling up the models. But I got to slide it over, though, because the screen sharing is weird. There we go. And we're there. You're blocking me right now. I can't see. Did the battery die? Where? We're having technical difficulties at the moment.
I'm good. So this is Tidbits, tropicaltidbits.com. This is a completely free website.
Here we go.
Dr. Levi Cohen.
There we go. Oh, okay.
He is a famous young guy, younger than us actually, famous for tracking of tropical systems. And when the tropics start to heat up, he gets on and posts these videos. You can donate if you want to, top right-hand corner of his page, and he's across all major social media platforms. Again, he's free.
All right, so this is kind of the interactive part, and now that you've been educated on things, we're going to look at the computer models together and see what the future brings, kind of make a forecast together, I guess. And so as Don was saying, this tropicaltidbits.com website you can go on to for free, and you don't need us anymore, so we're going to leave. All right, thanks a lot. No, okay. All right, so couple things before we get to the models. I don't know if there's anything. Oh, there is. Oh, yeah, okay. So you can actually, on this website, you can track the hurricane hunters live when they go out flying into the storm. So if you go to the top here and hit aircraft recon, depending on what storms are out there, you can actually track them here. It shows you the wind speeds by knots, depending on when they drop into the storm, what they see. This is actually a training mission right now, so that's why they probably found some thunderstorms somewhere and they're just kind of practicing. But it is really cool when there's a super strong hurricane out there. They make this like X pattern over the storm, over the eye, and you can see towards the center all the pinks and purples because of the stronger winds of the storm, and then towards the outside of the storm, you get the blues and greens. And it's pretty cool. Don and I will post on our page, hey, the hurricane hunters are out in said storm. They're picking up these readings of winds 150 miles an hour. So I would expect the next update for there be an increase in category level or something like that. And then it usually happens. So makes us look like we know what we're talking about. But it's all just stuff that's all available to the public. So, all right. You can get satellite imagery on here too, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's get to the computer models. All right, it's a nice big screen, so you guys should be able to see this pretty well. All right, so this is the GFS. This is the American kind of global model. It's a medium range model, which means it goes out to 384 hours every run. Okay, every 6 hours, a new computer model run is in output, but every 12 hours, it's new data. Okay, so right now, the 18Z run is going, and it's taking data from a 12Z, kind of like noon, I guess you want to, for like layman's terms, and it's kind of recalculating and putting out a new run. The 0Z run, which will be about 10:30, 11 o'clock, is all new data that it puts into it. Okay, every 6 hours is a new frame, which you can kind of see here on the right-hand side once we put this into motion, right? The light greens, these are like scattered showers, also probably some thunderstorms mixed in here. This is like not high def, basically, if you're thinking about a TV, okay? We have other models which we're gonna show you that really will actually show you each individual thunderstorm cell. This doesn't quite do that. This is more of a bigger picture thing, all right? Notice there's no blues right now because that's snow, and all that snow is with the polar vortex, which you now know, right, is way up and pushed much further north. Climatology speaking, we are obviously not at wintertime here. Okay, L for low pressure, H for high pressure. So let's push forward. So this is current. That says what? 2 o'clock up there? I can't even see that. Does that say 2 o'clock? 8 o'clock. Whew. Oh boy. Okay. Time for glasses. So let's push forward. This is 6 hours ahead. I'll show you here. Let's zoom in a little bit here. You can go to regions and go to northeast. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay. How's that? Better? All right. Here's our lovely little island right here that we all love so much and can so afford to live here. Let's push forward. This is what? Don, you got to help me out. Is it 8 o'clock in the morning? I can't see it from here. Okay. All right. I'm good now. So by tomorrow morning, and this actually was in our forecast, which we posted earlier, I would expect a couple showers, maybe a storm or two around tomorrow morning. Okay, we push forward. What's that say, 2 o'clock now? Yes, okay. All right, tomorrow afternoon should be fine. Tomorrow evening, another possible line of storms comes through. Now, if you know how to read radar, there's no reds, there's no anything here. Okay, this is, again, like not high def. The global medium range models that go so far out, like weeks in advance, aren't going to get that detailed. We use these guys, the mesoscale models. Okay, if I go to mesoscale, and let's go to, we'll say the HRRR model. Where's the 18Z run? Is that it there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's push forward.
You can see up here.
That's the morning,
as
right?
As he's moving forward, you can see the individual cells a little bit better, okay? And that's the power of those short-range models, is that it allows for different frequencies to be used to focus on where those pockets may be.
There we go.
And that's that line of storms. Now, we talked about that cooler ocean. Watch what happens as this line pushes forward, okay? breaks apart.
Gone.
Okay, and it's sucking up. We're using the vacuum again. It's sucking up that cooler, damp air ahead of it. It's got the moisture, but the temperatures are not there, so the humidity levels don't really matter. That warmer, moist air is what it needs to survive, and once that begins to go away, the line dies.
Right. So that marine layer tomorrow most likely going to knock the storms down as you get towards later in the evening, but you never know. They could always make it. So tomorrow, if you're going to any graduation parties, because that's the constant question on our page right now, what is the weather going to be on Saturday? I have a graduation party. My nephew's getting baptized. My nephew is doing whatever. My cousin is that. So should be fine for your afternoon barbecues and your ziti pans of chicken marsala and
There's always penne alla vodka.
Right?
Always. It's a Long Island staple.
Chicken marsala, penne vodka, ziti,
vodka.
garlic
Yep, ziti.
knots,
Yep.
usually a tray of salad.
And sausage and peppers.
What else am I missing? Sausage
You
and
gotta do
peppers.
sausage and peppers.
Come on, you know I'm right? It's catered.
Every
yeah,
Long
all right.
Island party ever. Hello.
Yeah, it's always the same. Yeah. All right.
Have you ever been to a wedding down south? It's completely different.
All right. So that's tomorrow. Let's go back to the GFS, the global model here, longer range. All right. See, it's more fun
Keep
to
an
look at
eye
the
in
winter
here.
time. Oh, yeah, that's right.
When
Oh,
we
thank
talk
you for
about the 20% chance down in here.
Yeah, thank you for
watch.
saying that. I forgot about that.
You're
That's
welcome.
actually, let's talk about that now. Let's go to
Western Atlantic.
Yeah,
Western
works.
Atlantic.
Yeah, okay. Let's go back here. Okay. So right now, when we're talking about that 20% chance of forming a storm, okay, it does not look very healthy here on the GFS model. But the cloud cover we saw on the satellite looked very healthy. So I think what the models are putting out versus what is actually there in real life are a little different. But let's see what it does. It pulls it across the peninsula here, puts it into the Gulf. Nope, that's the wrong. Oh my God, no, Don, we're not doing soundings right now.
Oh, no.
That's like Don's favorite thing. But anyway, as it pushes it across here, it does try to flare up some thunderstorms in the Gulf. Let's see what the European model wants to show. That's the ECMWF. Let's go back and see. Okay, see, this is a little bit healthier, in my opinion. The Euro is showing more storm activity. What it actually looks like, excuse me, as you push it across, can you actually see? It's hard, but I'm going to push it forward again. If you watch, it has a little bit of a rotation to it. Not much. Here, look. You kind of see that? It's hard to see, but it's trying. It's trying to do something, but I think it's going to run out of time. I don't know.
What we look for, and here's what's happening here is actually what's same thing is going on up here, is when you see these circles, these lines indicate variations in barometric pressure, the density of the air, right? And when you see it like this down here, then you know you've got some health to the system itself. But when these barometric lines kind of just stay this way, even though there's activity,
Yeah.
it's having a hard time getting itself organized.
Yep. Let's go back to the GFS. I don't know if it has any fantasy storms right now. That'd be kind of cool to look at.
No, it doesn't.
Huh? Does it?
No.
Are you sure? Let's see. Let's slide real fast here.
A little bit, right there.
Yeah, it
Back up,
tries
right in
there.
the Gulf.
See there in the Gulf? Right there? It's trying to form like a little tropical wave. What date is that? July 8th? Yeah. Odds of that happening are slim and next to none.
It's possible. But this right here, go forward.
I was just going to say, you saw that, right?
Yep, right here.
You know what's coming again.
Right there. Okay, so major reason why you're going to have a two-pronged attack for all of the summertime is a Bermuda high. And that Bermuda high does two things. Number one, it funnels this Gulf moisture, this tropical moisture up the coast and gives us these nasty days where we're sweating, but it also keeps that energy focused right into the Gulf. And that's the reason why during this time of year, the energy that we're looking to see form is happening in parts of the Southern Caribbean as well as the Gulf. This Bermuda high is now we talked about there's no bully right now, there's no La Nina, there's no El Nino. So what else is driving and pushing our weather right now? It's the Bermuda high.
So when we were talking about the layers of the atmosphere and the stratosphere and the troposphere, okay, this is looking up to more of the upper layers of the atmosphere, showing you basically high and low pressure, essentially. if we actually get a storm or hurricane threat that's coming up here, I usually like to go live on the page and discuss the science behind where things are going. And what I tell people is the hurricane, it obviously doesn't have a mind of its own, right? Its influences around it determine where it's going to go. So the analogy that I use, I'm sure the kids probably know one of these is too, but a pinball machine, right? Right? The ball goes around, it bounces off everywhere. Think of the hurricane being the ball, okay? And all the little levers and everything are these areas of high pressure, okay? They act as like walls. And wherever these form, that's what's going to direct the storm in different ways. So right now, to Don's point, okay, that high being over here, all this orange here, right, this is going to suppress anything south right now. So anything that forms is likely to stay there. If this retreats, let's push forward here. It's hanging around. Okay, there it retreats a little bit. This is July 11th. Actually, it's interesting. I'm all over the place right now. We're going to get hot again, temperature-wise, upcoming, after 4th of July. Then the long range looks like we're going to cool down again, which is why it's kind of showing this blue here. But that is a window. If there was an actual hurricane forming here, okay, it more than likely would turn here, okay, because it has a window. There's nothing stopping it. And once it starts to turn a direction, it's going to keep going that way until it has some other influence. But this here is likely a cold front, and a cold front also acts the same way, and it can kick it out to sea too. Okay, so there's so many factors, especially long-term with hurricanes, that make them so difficult to forecast. Okay, that's why those cones get wider, right, as you see, because any little shift in high or low pressure, 25 miles, 100 miles either way, completely can devastate a city or make it sunny in a couple showers. So, all right. Anyway, this computer model, any computer model, as we head anything, lately, God, anything past 100 hours has been terrible. Okay, forecasting anything this far, if I click on hour 348, whatever you see here is not going to happen. You know what I mean? But what we use it for, though, is what the computer models can do a good job with is they can forecast trends, I guess, and temperatures, and we use something called ensembles for that. Nope, sorry, Don, we're not doing those. Nope, sorry. Okay, if I click on the ensembles here, all right, actually, let's go to the European ensembles instead. All right. So in layman's terms, ensembles are basically like 50 different models that are putting out an average, okay? And they're basically saying this computer model number 1 is going to have the low pressure over New York City. Computer model 2 is going to have the low pressure over Montauk. And they just do all these different scenarios to run what an average is going to be. This one right now, the European ensemble, again, is saying that around that same time frame, pushing forward here, okay, after the 12th, it looks like it wants to cool down again. Okay, but there's some good consistency here where we're going to warm up between July 4th and like July 9th. So the ensembles, they do a pretty good job from a temperature standpoint that we use in the wintertime too. Oh, we see a cold snap coming. We saw that heat wave coming like 10 days before. We just kind of felt like there was such consistency in the computer models from the ensemble standpoint that it was going to be okay.
The key takeaway, the global models, we're not looking at the finite details of where and when it's going to rain and for how long and how much, but where does the setup allow for that to happen. Then we switch to those medium to short range models to give you that daily forecast, right? We put out a 5-day forecast. The first 3 days were pretty solid. Day 4 and 5, the percentage of that actually happening is right around 70 to 60%, and then it gets to get progressively less accurate after that. So when the GFS is going out 384 hours, to Glen's point, the chances of that happening are about 5 to 10% at most, but the technology allows for the visibility that far. Is it close to accurate? Yeah, it's 5 to 10%, but it gets you within the ballpark. If it's saying it's going to be in the mid-80s, you could probably expect mid-70s to upper 80s. So it's giving you a snapshot of what it thinks. It's fairly close on long range.
And
not so much in precipitation.
The computer models have been so bad. even yesterday and on Wednesday, it was saying thunderstorms and rain the second half of tomorrow. I mean, from 2 o'clock on, everybody's panicking about their parties and everything, and now looks like it'll be fine. So it's so bad. It's really making it difficult for Don and I. So, and although people who follow our page, I think they understand that we're not going to forecast something long term. If they're looking for answers a week away, then they got to go somewhere else.
And I know this was a topic of discussion before, but the recent happenings in our world of funding for NOAA have nothing to do with the performance of the GFS. It's always been substandard.
Yes.
Right?
It's true.
It's limited by tax dollars that we put into it.
Right.
While the European is privately funded, so they can still, people are just dumping billions into it.
It's a race. It's like this. It's like the space race. You know, back when when with Russia and United States, the space race. It's like the weather race with the computer models. You know, it's fascinating. One more thing about the models. It's 7:16, so I want to give you some time for questions before we wrap up. This is the CFS, and Don was talking about this before, about long-range temperature forecasts. It's very, I don't know, it's all over the place sometimes, but sometimes it hits it well, and again, we kind of look for trends. So this is the forecast for July. Basically, it's saying on average, the entire country would be above average as far as temperatures go. Okay?
Shocker.
Yeah, well, right, yeah. This is August, and this is September. All right, so going off of the forecast we showed you that the Climate Center is putting out, it said July, August, September above average, right? Now let's push forward a little bit. Here's October. Now what does this mean for October, if you go by this? What's that saying? A warmer October, okay? Now it's interesting, no one asked this yet, unless you were going to ask during the Q&A in a little bit. No one asked about, are the seasons shifting? Okay? And we always talk about that. We don't talk politically about it, okay? But we do speak science, and they are shifting, okay? We live it every day, okay? It's hot in October sometimes, and it doesn't start snowing sometimes until January or February. And it lasts sometimes into April, and even the beginning of May sometimes with snow. The analogy or a thing that I talk about is, think about when you were a kid, they had those big like pumpkin bags that you'd fill up with leaves. Remember those? Okay. Do you see many of them around anymore? Yeah. Why? The leaves aren't falling like they used to. You're raking up leaves in December. You got your Christmas lights out on the lawn, and you're still raking up leaves, right? So there's definitely a shift for sure. So white Christmases, it's hard.
How many gardeners are in the group, Ray J?
Gardeners?
Gardeners, yep. Have you noticed something happening to your plants over the last 5 or 6 years? We are in a different growing zone now than we were 5, 6 years ago. I think we're like zone 7, we're like zone 7A or 7C. Crepe myrtles survive here longer. There's even species of magnolias that survive here now. There are more tropical plants. I don't know if you've noticed, going up and down Sunrise Highway, there's more people selling palm trees now than were in the 80s and 90s. Palm trees. I planted 3 in my backyard. Don't judge. But you could use and plant these now, and they stick around until December.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? They're hardy until like 42 degrees, and they're still surviving in December. So we are definitely warming. Our atmosphere is warming. We're continually setting records when it comes to overall seasonal average temperatures. I think last year was like 1.8 degrees above normal globally, okay? Which was weird because this past winter, we were colder than average for this area, okay? Mother Nature's kind of weird like that.